Okay. Spider. All right, we are live. So yeah, if you guys hear some noise in the background, it is because my son had a friend sleep over, and they are still here, and they are playing Minecraft in the background. Hi, Mike Whaley. Joey, no. Now my dog's being obnoxious and making the stream more difficult. So the printer you see before you is the A Lunar A8, which is just an Anet A8 that's been rebranded, like Comgrow or Sane Smart does for the Creality product. And it's the one that I picked up off Craigslist for $70, and it had some issues. I got it all put back together today, including my first attempt at soldering, which the thermistor's reading okay, so it seems that my soldering connection's holding up. And it's making its first attempt at a print. So we will see. We'll see how I did. I'm sure there will be a lot more dialing in and stuff to do, but it is. There's no sparks, no smoke, no funny smells. It's laying plastic on the bed. The heated bed is functioning. Derek Matthews, what's going on, man? Hope you guys can hear me okay, because I'm sitting behind the camera right now instead of in front of it. I figured y'all would rather watch the printer print than look at my face. But I just got that hot end put on it that Walter sent me, which if he checks this out later, thank you very much, Walter. Got it all buttoned up, put back together, and I figured if I got to print something with it, I might as well print a piece I need for something. For $70, I bought the entire printer. I bought the printer on Craigslist for $70. So now we're seeing if I can get a $70 printer to print. And so far so good. I mean, the part on it's okay. I mean, look so far. It looked like I was having some extrusion issues when I first started it up, but I think that maybe that was because I didn't prime the nozzle good enough. But I figured I'd just let it go and see what happens. This particular part, the first few layers aren't critical. 100%, 2 watching, 2 likes. I like it. The file and printing is the axle for the micro MVS car that I designed. The axle will clip onto this frame piece. This was printed on the X1, but if I get this thing printing and printing well, it's going to open up some things for me as far as printing some of my designs, because there are many of my designs that just aren't possible to print on the X1s, and this will open up a few more of them. I won't still be able to print the big things without slicing them up into pieces, but could be a game changer for me if I can get this thing printing reliably. I've been trying to watch it closely. We're running 213, 212 to 213 most of the time on the nozzle temp, and it's set at 215. So a couple degrees variance isn't too bad. The heated bed is set at 60 and it is holding steady at 60. I've seen no fluctuation in that whatsoever. And the previous owner did not have, it was in the box of spare parts. He did not have this strain relief on there, so I added that when I put it back together. So I figured that once I got it printing and it started printing, I was like, well, what the heck? I'm going to fire up a stream and you guys can share with me as we either get a successful print or this thing, well, pardon the pun for it being an Anet, goes down in flames. I guess it would have been funnier if I'd went and got the fire extinguisher out of the kitchen and set it next to it. Rover, what's going on, man? Good to see you. So yeah, I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I hadn't had the time. Today has been my first day off that I didn't have a million other things I had to get to first, which I do have a million other things I should be doing. And I contemplated not streaming because my son still has his guest over and they're playing video games right next to where the stream is happening. But I thought, what the heck, I'm going to let it go. I'm just tell them they need to be quiet. They're over there playing Minecraft. So the thermistor reading is reading good, which was the part that I had to solder on because the one that the hot end that Walter sent me, the connector that was on the thermistor was different than the connector that was on the A8. So I cut the end off of the old one and soldered it onto the new one. Use some heat shrink to give it a little extra strength. I was nervous firing this thing up because, well, this is my first printer with a heated bed. So far, so good. I mean, the part's looking okay. I'm loving these wire strippers. I bought some wire strippers because I didn't have a good set, and I bought these things and they're awesome. Let's see if I can get them on camera here. You fold them back over this way, and it's pliers. Strippers. They weren't that expensive, but they were cool. Sometimes it's the little things that amuse me. I don't want to jinx myself, but so far the print is looking decent. I mean, it's not that the X1 gets the greatest quality anyway. So I mean, it's not like I'm used to looking at like Prusa Mark III prints. But maybe I can use this to help convince the wife that I need that bigger printer. Because the last time I talked to her about getting another printer, she's like, "You don't even have the ones you have working right now." So I'm like, all right, fair point. Oh, Rover's got his audio turned down. First print. Yeah, I'd like to get an Ender 3, um, just because the price is so right on it. But yeah, I thought I'd start with a fairly simple print. This print should be an easy one, being that axle is not a complex part, and it's not a really big part, so it's not a long print. I thought the first test of it should be a pretty simple one, but I didn't want to just grab some bobble off Thingiverse or whatever. Like if I'm going to print with it, if it works out, I'd rather print the part that I need to be printing. So we'll see. And sorry guys that I haven't made the video in a while. I've just been so darn busy. And then, I only have Tuesdays off, completely off. And most of the time when I have that day off, I just end up running like a chicken with my head cut off trying to get everything done. So it's been, probably close to a month since the last time I streamed. I've had time to stream a couple different times between then and now, but both times that I had the opportunity, somebody else in the community was streaming, and I try desperately not to stream at the same time as somebody else that I follow. But it's getting to the point that I follow so many people, and they stream so often and at such different times, that just is not a feasible thing anymore for me. So I'm like, I'm just going to have to start streaming when I have the opportunity to do so. Save for a few people that I know their streams are a set duration and a set time on the set day. Like, Chris Riley usually does his like printer build streams and stuff on Sunday mornings. So, it's like, I will do that. And then like Walter does his morning coffee every morning. But I know with him starting his new job here in a couple weeks that's going to be changing. So who knows? Maybe I'll start streaming in the morning since I have more time then. I didn't even look to see if anybody was streaming before I started this one. I just wanted to hurry up and start it because the printer was actually printing something, and I wanted to show everybody and share with them the first time. So I don't even know if somebody's streaming right now. When I got the printer printing, I'm like, oh, I got to show everybody. I got excited. So I didn't even look. I just went to YouTube as quickly as I could and fired off the stream. So we're catching my first ever attempt at a print on this $70 printer and capturing it on YouTube forever. So it will be captured for posterity. Well, this part is at 27%. And you take you off what I got you guys sitting on here and see if I can get you in down close and look at you. It looks like it's doing its thing. And yes, that is a aluminum tape that I taped over that. I need to get myself another one of those. The part cooling fan, because the part cooling fan had a big hole in it. Like the plastic is all broke off on this side. And those heated beds do put out some heat. I've never had a printer with a heated bed. I don't know if that was short. No, it's too big. So yeah, I figured I'd stream at least until this got done and we take a look at the part and see if it turns out. Because I totally don't know what I'm doing with this stuff most of the time. I'm just feeling my way through it as I go. And so, yeah, I sat down and finally was like, okay, I'm going to have to, see if I can solder this connector on, put this thing back together, see if I remember how it goes back together. It's been so long since I took it apart. And then once I got it all together, I thought, oh, what the heck. So I set up a quick profile for it on Idea Maker and sliced a piece that I need to print. And started it, and right after I started it, I was like, oh, I should be streaming this. I totally should be streaming this. So that you can you can all either, laugh at my failure and then help me figure out how to fix it, or share in my my victory. It was built already, and it had been built a lot of things wrong. He had some of his cables routed in a way that the X carriage cable would have bound if it would have got above like 50 millimeters. It would have bound up the X carriage cable, and he also had the power supply was still set to 220 volt. And knowing that it shipped that way from China, I'm like, there's no way the kid switched it back to that before giving it to me. That means it's been on 220 volt from the beginning. The part cooling, the fan duct that's on there, he said he printed using this printer. So, I mean, obviously he got it to print, even with the power supply set on the wrong setting. Which I find almost amazing. So yeah, I rerouted some cables, and I had to go through and tighten a bunch of the screws and nuts and bolts and stuff all over it because it was very, very sloppily put together. And then there were some broken pieces of acrylic, and Walter still had his acrylic from when he converted his A8. So when I told him the hot end was bad, he also boxed up the acrylic pieces that were broken and sent them to me. This piece right here from belt tension was cracked right down the middle, all the way down, and there's no way it would held. He also had some frame reinforcement pieces that he had printed for his when it was still in its stock configuration, and he sent those to me as well, so you can see the white sticking out around that. That's a frame brace up here. There's another frame brace in the back here, and then frame braces located on the back side here that go up underneath the screen mounts. And it definitely has made the frame more solid. So yeah, I figured you guys can, either laugh at my pain and then help me fix it, or share in my victory. Either way, it's a win-win. The beauty of it is I don't embarrass easy. So, if I screwed this up and the board caught on fire, you know, I would be laughing right there with you guys after I put the fire out. Thank you, Derek. Thank you. And yes, I hadn't addressed that yet. Thank you to anybody who watches this, later on. Thank you for getting me to the 100 sub mark, so I could officially name the channel. And yeah, that's awesome. And there were a lot of great people that helped the final push to get there. Walter and Glenn gave me two pretty big pushes there towards the end when I got close. And then I got, I believe, maybe a little bit of a push from Chris Riley featuring the stool I designed on his recent hang printer video. Yeah, I don't know where everybody's at today. It's kind of quiet in here. I thought I'd fire up a stream and probably end up with a few people in here unless somebody else is streaming. But the great thing about the internet is this will be here later for them to watch, and like I said, we can all either share in this victory together or laugh at the defeat. But right now, it's looking decent so far. Knock on wood. But yeah, the hot end that was on it when I got it, the thermistor was snapped in half, and half of it was still up inside the old heat block, and there was no way to get it out. It had been fused in there by a filament that had leaked out of the block because it was leaking filament out of the top of the block, and then that had seeped into that hole and fused it in there. So the only way to have gotten that piece out would have been to have drilled it out. And that's when I decided, I was like, okay, it's not even worth saving this hot end because it was, leaking out the top, and it was just an absolute mess. And the thermistor was fused inside and broke off. And in the process of taking it off, even the heat cartridge wires snapped right off. So I don't know how secure they even were the last time it was being used. The thing was just an absolute disaster. And I imagine the heat cartridge wires were made brittle by the fact that he hadn't put in the this strain relief here was not installed. Which, looking back at the instructions or a couple of instructional videos, said that was an absolute necessity. And I imagine that's a necessity to keep that movement from causing wear on the heater cartridge wire. Because looking at it right now, I mean, none of that stuff has any wiggle or play into it while the head's moving back and forth. So yeah, I know my first layer is going to be awful because it did not extrude any plastic on the first layer at all. Yeah, Mike Whaley was also a beneficiary of the push from Glenn and Walter there at the end, and I think Glenn got us both within 5, and then Walter got us the last push. Which 100 is the only number that I was really, jonesing for, because I wanted to name the channel so that somebody else couldn't come along and take the name, with new YouTube channels popping up all the time. Is the stream looking all right, guys? I mean, everything moving okay? The stream health isn't looking great on YouTube, so I'm hoping it looks okay. Yeah, I understand, Mike. Sometimes you get to working on something and you just forget to look at the chat. And I mean, I do that when I'm streaming, uh, and I'm trying to like design in Blender and stream and you know kind of make a tutorial out of something, and then I'll get so caught up in what I'm doing that I forget to look at the chat. I'm bad about that. I need to get better at it. Not all of us can be as good at Walter as following the chat and keeping up with the chat. Now I printed this part with no supports, and I'm seeing a little spot where I needed some, but it looks like it recovered and is going to be usable. This is more of a functional piece than it is a pretty piece, because you won't see it anyway. Once the body of the vehicle is put together, you won't see the axles. So I'm really not concerned with how it looks. Well, I didn't know how the stream health would hold up right now with, because like I said earlier, they're playing Minecraft over here, and I know it connects to the network as well. So I didn't know if them playing uh, Minecraft, and my daughter just got home from work, so I'm sure she's probably streaming stuff, watching stuff on her phone and or laptop one, and so I know we got a little extra strain on the network more than I usually have when I stream. But I got new internet, so this is better internet than what I had, which I haven't looked outside today to see if they've come by to bury that cable like they were supposed to yet. They ran a new cable to the house and they didn't bury it. Well, it looks like when it got up here to the axle shaft, it looks like it's horribly under extruding. But I don't know. I go back and might have to look and see if that's in the slicer or if that's. I might have to run something that I know works that it was sliced for the X1, because the bed's oversized, so it shouldn't be a problem just going ahead and printing a file that was meant for the other printer and see if it under extrudes on it as well. Even though it's messing up, I'm going to let it finish. It's not that much plastic. Hello, David Olson. So yeah, the part is officially failed at this point, but I'm going to let it finish just to let it see what it does. And it could be something that I don't have set right when I sliced this, because it was a profile that I just now created. I may have not set something right on the extruder or something. I don't know. We'll see. Or I could have some belt tightening issues. I don't know. Biggest thing is it's putting plastic on the bed right now. We'll fix it and make it pretty as we go. It's putting plastic on the bed. The thermistor is reading the right temperatures, or seemingly so, at least, for both the hot end and the bed. The heated bed is working, and nothing on my board is smoking or putting out any heat or smell or anything. It's all looking okay. And see, it looked like it was doing fine until it got to the axle, and then it just... Which the under extruded parts I might be able to just fill with a little filler and still use it. More reason to just let it finish. Because as I said, this is not a part that you're even, once it's put together, going to see. It just has to do its job of holding the wheel on. Well, I did notice, I don't know if it's what caused it, but I hadn't been paying attention to what it was set to, and I know this was in the slicer. The flow setting was only set to 94, so I know that was in the slicer. I went ahead and bumped it back up to 100, and we'll see if that made a difference. Which actually it looks like since I bumped it up to 100, it's doing fine again. So the flow setting in the slicer was at 94, and that may have not been enough. And once it got to the axle shaft, it was moving faster, so it may have starved itself of not been feeding enough filament in, and it starved itself at some point and started under extruding badly. I don't know. I'm going to let it finish, like I said, and we'll examine the part together when it gets done. But at this point, it is a failed part, but I might be able to salvage it with some filler. I'll have to see when I get it taken off the bed. We are at 86%, so we're getting close. I didn't even tweet this out or anything when I started this stream. So I guess you guys are here just because you got the YouTube notification. Yeah, it looks like after I bumped the flow rate back up, it corrected the under extrusion. So that's something I need to fix in Idea Maker. Why Idea Maker set that flow to 94%, I don't know. because I definitely don't have it set that way on my X1. But yeah, that under extrusion spot does look awful. I wish I would have noticed that and caught it sooner. Because it looks like as soon as I change the flow rate back to 100, it's fine. I guess the test will be to go in and fix the setting in the slicer so that its flow rate is set to 100 and try it again.
Did I walk in the lava on accident?
Hey, James, what's going on, man? This is my first attempt at printing, since you just joined us, on the $70 Anet. Which it went well until it got to the axle shaft on the part I'm printing. But I noticed that at that point, it was under extruding really bad, and I looked up and I saw that the flow rate was set to 94. And I bumped it up to 100, and it seems to have recovered itself afterwards. We're done. Stepper's disabled. All the power stuff is off. All right. We'll let the bed cool down for a minute. I'll take you guys off of here and put you back on top of the monitor. We're going to let that cool down for a little bit, and we'll sit here and chat. Time-lapse Tuesday. Except it's a real-time time-lapse. It's not a time-lapse. So, yeah, we'll give that a minute to cool off, and I may have to invest in a scraper, a putty knife, because I don't have one. I don't need one on the X1 because I can take the plate off and just flex it a little, and pops the parts off. But I won't be able to do that on this because, well, the plate is an aluminum plate covered in glass. Stick it right there. There you go. Just tapped it a couple times with a wrench and popped it off. All right. So, we'll look at this together. Trying to get my $70 Anet to print. Okay, so yeah, it's definitely a failed piece, and it not even fixable. But the bottom layer didn't turn out as bad as I thought. But yeah, the axle shaft under extruded badly. If I can get this thing to focus. I'm just dangling right now. All right, the axle shaft under extruded badly for a little bit, and when it did, it didn't survive the print. But like I said, it was set, for some reason the flow rate was set to 94, which was in the slicer. So I got to find where that is in Idea Maker, because I bumped it back up to 100. And once I bumped it back up to 100, the rest of it printed pretty well. Actually, layer lines and stuff all look good. I just think once it got to the point where the axle started going up, because it was such a smaller piece and it was moving on so much quicker, that it starved itself for some reason of material. But so I'll fix that in the slicer and reslice it and try again. But otherwise, the part came out. Other than the spot where it under extruded and snapped off. But here's the frame piece, so it's dimensionally accurate because it snapped on there just like it's supposed to. I don't know, I might be able to super glue that and then with a little filler salvage it. But yeah, just under extruded for a few layers there, and it was enough to snap that axle piece right off. So yeah, $70 printer. Yeah, I mean I think it's going to be okay. I just need to get the Idea Maker settings dialed in and make sure that its flow rate is not 94, because apparently I just don't think that was enough. But now I can see what you guys that have been printing on glass talk about as far as finishes, because it's got that, you know, that shiny glass finish. It's kind of cool. On the X1 I get, you know, a matte finish. So the part may have failed, but I'm going to call putting the printer back together and making it work a success, because nothing blew up. There were no fires. Nobody was harmed in the filming of this video. I printed this without supports entirely, and the bridging, I know it's not like extreme bridging or anything, but the bridging in that part right there, because it printed in that orientation, was flawless. Right, Rover, and yeah, I learned how to fix it, you know, all by myself. So I'm happy with it. I mean, other than, like I said, I think it was just a flow rate issue. And get that to focus. Focus. This camera just doesn't like to focus up close. I don't know. Anyway, the layer lines, I mean, a lot nicer than the X1's layer lines. It's, I mean, smooth. there's no ripples and stuff like that in it like I get with the X1. So I think the flow rate being off was the only thing that killed me on this print. So that gives me hope. It gives me hope that that I have a once I get the slicer stuff all dialed in, that I got a good printer for $70, or a decent printer for $70. So then it'll be time to order that AM8 frame kit and tear it all apart. Yeah, you're building it. Oh, that was the wrong person. I ran two comments together. So Rover, you're gonna solder on your printer, get it going. Now, Sonic James, aren't you building a new printer from scratch? How's that going, man? Any progress on it yet? I've been so busy, I haven't kept up with everybody. I pretty much watch Walter, like an hour of Walter every day, and that's about all I get a chance to do. And then I check in on the guys who are live streaming when I get out of work, or when I get to work too early and I have 20 minutes to kill. I'll find one of those guys live streaming and hang out with them for a little while before I go to work, or when I get off work. I'm sitting in the parking garage and they help. Chatting with them helps get me home. CR10 S4 sized. Waiting for filament orders to come. You're printing a CR10 S4 sized printer? Is that what's going on? Oh, wow. That's exciting, man. It's going to take a while to print those extrusions that size, isn't it? I don't know. Once I get this thing dialed in right, I might have to do what Walter did and print extrusions for the AM8 upgrade. Yeah, 680 millimeter extrusion. That's huge. Because Walter printed his entire the country bow on his A8. Which, I mean, if once I get the slicer dialed in, if I can get layer lines that look like that, because they're nice, I don't see any reason why I couldn't follow suit. Other than, I don't know how long it'll be before I trust this thing to print when I'm not sitting right here next to it. Yeah, I thought about that too, because I've seen I can get the aluminum pre-cut everything ready for like $30, something like that, for an AM8 kit. The hardest part would be printing all the printed parts. But now that I've got this, I can start printing printed parts. Which begs the question, do I print parts for an AM8 upgrade first, or do I print parts for the Piper build that I'm going to try first? Probably the AM8 would be better to do, just because basically, other than the printed parts, I have everything. You printed half the parts already? Very cool. So yeah, Walter has morning coffee, and
Apparently, I have afternoon Fanta, peach Fanta, at that. It was cheap at the gas station last night. It's 99 cents. Yeah, do the AM8 parts. Yeah, I think that might be the smartest thing. Do the AM8 parts. Just order the aluminum frame kit that I saw for. I think the aluminum frame kit I saw was it even had like all the hardware and stuff, and it wasn't too bad. It was like $60 with the hardware, where all you needed is the printed parts, the A8 printer, and their kit, which was like $60. So then I would have $60 for their kit, $70 for the A8. I'd have $130 in an AM8 when I was done. I guess the next thing I need to learn how to do is and just sit and Google and figure out is wiring in a MOSFET, because I think that's from everything I've seen an absolute necessity for the heated bed on the A8. I hope so, James, because me and electrical stuff don't usually get along. That's why I was assuming this was going to fail and fail spectacularly, but it didn't. I surprised myself. My first ever successful soldering job. I won't say it was pretty. It wasn't a pretty soldering job, but they were solid connections. And then once I heat shrunk the heat shrink tubing over them, the wire would break somewhere other than where I soldered before it would break where I soldered. I'm guessing you're typing on like an iPad or something like that, Mike Whaley, because it turned MOSFET into mosh pit. An ATX power supply, so like a power supply for like a PC. I might have to pick your brain about that a little bit, James. Okay, yeah, because I'd like to, I'd like to make the machine safer, because I know they're not the safest. But we had a nice conversation about this the other day. Matt from How I Do It was in the Discord, and we had a nice discussion regarding printers and printer safety, and we pretty much all came to the same conclusion that unless you are doing something spectacularly stupid, leaving some sort of ignition source or something close to something volatile close to the printer, the chances of burning your house down are so minimal, it's unreal. There are half a dozen appliances in anybody's home, give and take, any given day, that are plugged into the wall 24 hours a day, that are as big or bigger fire hazards than a 3D printer. It's just the news likes to sensationalize a 3D printer when it is the ignition source for burning down a house. Yeah, I'm liking the sound of that. Because I think if I went that route, I would be more prone to to be okay with leaving the house and leaving it running if there were some safety protocols in place. Oh, nice. Because I'd like to, get into Octoprint and all that kind of stuff too. So. I need to move my camera so that it doesn't look like I'm focus. That way when I'm looking at the chat window, it doesn't look like I'm looking out off the corner of my eye here. Make it look a little less weird. Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could get Chris to take a vacation for a week and just come to Tennessee and hang with me for a week and teach me everything. I could even let him get up on stage, Chris Riley, get up on stage with me and play a little, because he's quite the musician as well. For those of y'all who didn't know, he gave me a copy of his CD when he sent me the X1, and I listened to it, and don't get me wrong, his music is not my kind of music, but I could tell it was well written and well performed, and it made me drive fast. Yeah. I think Chris could stay pretty busy if he just became a consultant. Yeah, his music's not my cup of tea, but being a musician myself, I can tell, even music that's not my thing, I can tell when it's well produced, well written, well performed, and he meets all that criteria. So. And the heavy guitars and the driving drum beat make me drive fast when I listen to it, because I was driving to Nashville the first time I listened to it, and it was during one of his songs. I looked down, I was doing almost 90. I went, oh, I need to get off the accelerator there a little bit, ease it on back. Tell Chris Riley it makes me drive too fast. Yeah, I think when you're a musician, you can tell, regardless of taste in music, you can separate that from. Uh-oh, I have to cut this stream short because she gonna want me to call her back. So since she's about a half an hour from getting off work, so she's probably calling to ask about dinner plans. Well, so this is where we're going to leave it today. We got a failed print, but I don't think it was the fault of the machine that it failed. I think it was the fault of the idiot that set the slicer settings. This, idiot here that set the slicer settings didn't look at everything and missed that the flow rate was set to 94. There's a ID10T error. Yes, definitely, Rover. Good luck with your printer, man, and may you use my success today in this as inspiration and knock it out, man, and post a video or pictures, come over to Country Club Discord and let us see your success and sharing it with you. And I'm going to try reprinting this after I go dig back into the slicer and see what I missed, why in the world the flow rate was set to 94%. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys for joining me, and thank you guys for teaching me a lot. And I'd love being a part of this community, and I look forward to more great things. Yeah, I'm glad I got it running too, Mike. And so hopefully that will mean more cool stuff coming for me very soon. So that being said, I believe we are out of here for the day. Probably won't be back because it's only half an hour till my wife gets off lunch for work. Maybe I'll stream tomorrow if I get this thing dialed in better, and update everybody on it. I'll try and post pictures on stuff on the Country Club Discord. So if you're not a member of the Country Club Discord, come join us, hang out with us, and always great hanging with you guys. And we'll see you next time. No, David Olson, I'm not working tonight. Tonight is my one night of the week off. So probably going to spend a little time with the wife. All right. Later, guys.